Ava Monroe was 3 seconds away from throwing her drink in her boyfriend's face when she decided to kiss a stranger instead. The rooftop bar hummed with Friday night energy. Colleagues from Harrington Creative Group crowded around high-top tables, celebrating the end of another brutal work week. Ava had come here with one purpose: to share her good news with Ethan. After 3 years of killing herself at the office, she was finally getting promoted to senior designer. The official announcement would come Monday, but her boss had given her the nod that afternoon. She'd been so excited, so naive. Now she stood frozen 10 feet away from Ethan Wells, watching him press Brianna Chun against the glass railing, his hands roaming her body like he owned it. Like he had every right to touch another woman while his girlfriend was in the same building. The worst part? Nobody looked surprised. Melissa stood beside Ava, her face twisted with pity. Around them, colleagues glanced over and quickly looked away. They all knew. Everyone knew except her. "Ava, I'm so sorry," Melissa whispered. "I didn't know if I should tell you." They've been seeing each other for weeks. Weeks. The word detonated in Ava's chest. Not a one-time mistake. Not a drunken lapse in judgment. Weeks of lying, of sneaking around, of making her look like a fool while everyone watched. Ethan finally pulled back from Brianna, laughing at something she said. Then his eyes swept the crowd and landed on Ava. For half a second, guilt flickered across his face. Then it hardened into something uglier. He walked toward her, unhurried, like this was just another inconvenient conversation. Brianna followed, her lipstick smudged and her smile sharp. "Ava." His voice carried that condescending tone he used when he thought she was overreacting. "Don't make a scene. Don't make a scene." Ava's voice came out low and dangerous. "You're kidding. We need to talk, but not here. Not in front of everyone. You didn't seem to care about privacy 30 seconds ago." His jaw tightened. "Look, this isn't working anymore. You know it. I know it. We've been done for months. Then you should have broken up with me months ago. Maybe if you weren't always buried in your sketchbook, you would have noticed." He stepped closer, and she smelled his cologne mixed with Brianna's perfume. The combination made her nauseous. "When's the last time you actually paid attention to me, Ava? When's the last time I came first instead of your precious designs?" "My precious designs?" The words tasted like acid. "You mean my career? The thing I've worked my entire life for?" "Yeah, your career. Your obsession." He gestured dismissively. "Brianna actually makes time for me. She actually cares about something other than work. She's not married to her job." Around them, conversations had died. Dozens of colleagues watched the drama unfold, phones out, probably recording. Ava felt each stare like a physical touch, marking her as the girl who wasn't enough. "You're blaming me for your cheating? I'm saying you made your choice. You chose work over us every single time. Late nights, weekends at the office, canceled plans because of deadlines. What did you expect?" "I expected basic human decency." Ava's hand shook. "I expected honesty. I expected the man I spent 3 years with to have the guts to break up with me before screwing someone else. Whatever helps you sleep at night." Ethan shrugged, already turning back to Brianna. "Have fun with your promotion, Ava. I'm sure it'll keep you warm at night, since nothing else can." The comment hit exactly where he'd aimed it, striking at her deepest fear that choosing ambition meant choosing loneliness. Brianna looped her arm through his. "Come on, baby. Let's go somewhere more fun." They started to walk away, and something inside. Ava snapped. She wasn't going to let him have the last word. She wasn't going to stand here and be pitted while he walked off with his head high. Her eyes swept the crowd desperately, looking for anything that could salvage this nightmare. That's when she saw him. A man leaned against the bar, 15 feet away, watching the entire scene with an expression that managed to be both detached and intensely focused. He was tall, well over 6 feet, wearing a black suit that screamed expensive. Dark hair, sharp jawline, and eyes that were the color of smoke and steel. Everything about him radiated power and control. He looked nothing like the finance bros and creative types that populated Harrington. He looked like he'd walked off the cover of a magazine about billionaires and their toys. And he was staring directly at her. Their eyes met across the crowd. For one electric moment, something passed between them. Understanding, maybe or recognition of another person who understood what it felt like to be studied like a specimen under glass. Ava made a decision that was either brilliant or catastrophically stupid. Probably both. She crossed the distance between them in 6 quick strides, her heels clicking against the concrete floor. The stranger watched her approach, one eyebrow lifting in question, but he didn't move away. "I need to ask you something," Ava said. His voice was deep, smooth, with an edge that suggested danger underneath the polish. "I'm listening." "Can I kiss you?" Both eyebrows went up now. "That's a novel request. I'll explain later. Right now, I need you to kiss me like you mean it. Like I'm the only woman in the world." Behind her, she heard Ethan's voice. "Ava, what the hell are you doing?" The stranger's eyes flicked past her to Ethan, then back to her face. Something shifted in his expression. Without a word, he set down his drink and straightened to his full height. "You don't even know me," he said quietly. "That's exactly the point." Ava stepped closer. "Please." For a moment, she thought he'd refuse. Then his hand came up to cup her jaw, his thumb brushing her cheekbone with surprising gentleness. "Your ex is watching," he murmured. "I know. Good." His lips curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. "Then let's give him a show." He closed the distance between them and kissed her. It wasn't the quick, performative kiss Ava had imagined. The stranger kissed her like he had all the time in the world, his mouth moving against hers with practiced skill and unexpected heat. His other hand slid to her waist, pulling her closer until she could feel the solid warmth of his body through his expensive suit. Ava's hands came up instinctively, gripping his shoulders for balance. He tasted like expensive whiskey and something uniquely him, and the kiss was so consuming that for a moment she forgot why she'd done this in the first place. She forgot about Ethan, forgot about the watching crowd, forgot everything except the way the stranger's mouth moved against hers, the way his hand tightened on her waist, the way her entire body seemed to light up like she'd been plugged into an electrical socket. When they finally broke apart, Ava's breathing had gone ragged. The stranger's eyes had darkened to charcoal, and his composed expression had cracked just enough to show something raw underneath. The rooftop bar had gone completely silent. Ava turned to find Ethan standing 6 feet away, his face purple with rage. Brianna clutched his arm, her mouth hanging open in shock. Around them, every single person at the party was staring. "You?" Ethan started, then seemed unable to finish the sentence. "Oh, what?" Ava's voice came out stronger than she expected. "Moved on? Found someone better? You said we were done, Ethan. So what I do now is none of your damn business. You're crazy. You're actually insane." "Maybe." Ava stepped back into the stranger's space, feeling his solid presence behind her like armor. "Or maybe I'm just done being treated like garbage by someone who doesn't deserve me." Ethan's hands clenched into fists. For a second, Ava thought he might actually try to start something. But then the stranger shifted slightly, and even though he hadn't said a word or made a threatening gesture, something about his posture made Ethan back up a step. "You know what? Screw this. Screw you." Ethan grabbed Brianna's hand. "You two deserve each other." He stormed toward the exit, and the crowd parted like water. Brianna stumbled after him in her 2 high heels, throwing one last venomous look over her shoulder. The moment they disappeared, the bar erupted into whispered conversations. Ava could feel the weight of dozens of stares, hearing her name being passed around like currency. She'd just become the biggest piece of gossip Harrington Creative had seen in years. "Well," the stranger said from behind her, his voice carrying a hint of amusement. "That was dramatic." Ava spun to face him, reality crashing down like a wave. She just kissed a complete stranger, in front of everyone she worked with, to prove a point to her cheating ex-boyfriend. "Oh my God." She pressed her hands to her burning face. "I'm so sorry. That was completely insane. I shouldn't have put you in that position. I just saw you and I panicked and—" "Breathe," he said calmly. "I'm not usually like this. I swear I'm a normal, rational person who doesn't assault strangers in bars. I wouldn't call it assault. You did ask permission. Still, that was wildly inappropriate, and I'm mortified and I should probably just leave before I make this worse somehow." He reached out, and gently pulled her hands away from her face. His touch was warm and steady, and something about it cut through her spiral of panic. "Stop apologizing," he said. "But use me as a prop in your revenge plot." "Yes, I'm aware." His mouth curved into a half-smile. "For what it's worth, it was the most interesting thing that's happened to me in months." Interesting? That's one way to put it. You could also try exhilarating. Bold. Memorable. He paused. Effective, judging by your ex's reaction. Despite everything, Ava felt a laugh bubble up. He did look pretty pissed. Livid. I thought he might actually take a swing at me. Would you have hit him back? I would have defended myself appropriately. His tone suggested that appropriately might involve significant violence. Though I suspect watching you walk away with me was punishment enough. They stood there in the relative quiet of the bar, the party's noise washing around them like waves. Ava became acutely aware that she was still standing close to him, that his hand still loosely held her wrist. "I don't even know your name," she said. Liam Carter. Ava Monroe, designer at Harrington Creative. Soon to be senior designer, assuming I still have a job after this. Why wouldn't you have a job? Because I just created a massive spectacle at a work event? Because HR is probably going to have questions about my judgment? Take your pick. Kissing someone at a party isn't a fireable offense. It is when everyone thinks you're unhinged. Do you care what everyone thinks? The question caught her off guard. Did she care? She'd spent her entire career caring, trying to fit into boxes that were never designed for her, making herself smaller and quieter to avoid being labeled difficult or emotional. "I don't know anymore," she admitted. "I used to. But right now, standing here after what just happened, I feel like maybe caring so much about everyone else's opinions is what got me into this mess in the first place." That's remarkably self-aware for someone who just committed public revenge. "I have layers." Ava finally stepped back, immediately missing his warmth. "Look, I should really go. Thank you for whatever that was. For helping me. For not making it weird. I think we crossed into weird territory the moment you asked to kiss me." Fair point. She grabbed her clutch from where she'd abandoned it on the bar. "Can I at least buy you a drink sometime? To make up for dragging you in my drama." "That won't be necessary." The rejection stung more than it should have. Of course, he didn't want to see her again. She'd literally used him as a human prop. What kind of person would want to sign up for more of that? Right. Of course. "Well, thanks again. I'll just—" She gestured vaguely toward the exit. "Ava." His voice stopped her mid-turn. "I didn't say I didn't want to see you again. I said buy me a drink won't be necessary. Because I have a feeling we'll be seeing each other very soon." "What do you mean?" His half-smile turned enigmatic. "Let's call it intuition." Before she could press for more details, Melissa appeared at her elbow, eyes wide and full of questions. "Ava, oh my God, who was that? Are you okay? Do you need to leave? Everyone's talking about." "I'm fine, Ned." Ava cast one last look at Liam, who raised his glass in a small salute. "I'm going to head home. I'll text you later." She pushed through the crowd toward the exit, ignoring the whispers and stares that followed her like smoke. Her face burned, her hands shook, and she had no idea what Monday morning was going to bring. But underneath the embarrassment and confusion, she felt something else. Something that felt almost like liberation. For the first time in 3 years, she'd chosen herself. She'd refused to be a victim. And yeah, maybe she'd done it in the most dramatic, impulsive way possible. But she'd done it. As Ava stepped into the elevator and the doors slid closed, she caught her reflection in the polished metal. Her lipstick was smudged, her hair was slightly messed up, and her eyes were too bright. She looked like a woman who'd just survived a disaster. Or started one. The weekend passed in a blur of overthinking and stress eating. Ava's phone exploded with messages from colleagues who'd witnessed the kiss, all wanting details about the mystery man. She ignored most of them, choosing instead to throw herself into work, redesigning her portfolio until 3 in the morning both Saturday and Sunday. By Monday, she'd almost convinced herself that Friday night had been some kind of fever dream. As she walked into the office and saw the email. Mandatory all-staff meeting, 9 a.m., attendance required. The office was already buzzing with speculation when Ava arrived at 8:30. Rumors flew through the creative department like wildfire. They were being acquired. There were going to be layoffs. Someone important had been fired. Did you hear? Melissa rushed over the moment Ava sat down. They're announcing the acquisition today. Harrington sold to some big media corporation. We're getting a new CEO. Ava's stomach dropped. When did this happen? Over the weekend, apparently. Everything was super hush-hush. The executive team has been locked in meetings since Friday night. Do we know anything about the new company? Carter and Company. They're huge. Media, tech, fashion. Basically everything. And apparently, the CEO is some young billionaire who's known for completely restructuring companies he acquires. Carter and Company. The name tickled something in Ava's memory, but she couldn't quite place it. At 8:55, everyone filed into the large conference room on the 16th floor. Bodies pressed together, the air thick with anxiety. Ava found a seat near the back, trying to make herself invisible. The current CEO, Richard Harrington, took the stage looking exhausted and defeated. Good morning, everyone. I know there's been a lot of speculation, so I'm going to cut right to it. As of this morning, Harrington Creative Group has been acquired by Carter and Company. This is an exciting opportunity for growth and expansion. He continued talking about synergies and opportunities, but Ava barely heard him. Her mind was spinning, trying to process what this meant for her job, her promotion, her future. I'd like to introduce our new CEO, Harrington said, gesturing to the side of the stage. Please welcome Liam Carter. The world tilted sideways. Liam Carter stepped onto the stage, looking every inch the billionaire CEO in a charcoal suit that probably cost more than Ava's car. His dark hair was perfectly styled, his expression composed and professional. The same man she'd kissed 3 days ago. The same man whose mouth she could still taste if she thought about it too hard. The same man who'd held her like she mattered while her world fell apart. Their eyes met across the crowded room. For one suspended moment, the professional mask slipped, and she saw recognition, surprise, and something that might have been amusement flicker across his face. Then the mask snapped back into place, and he was all business. Thank you, Richard. Good morning, everyone. I'm Liam Carter, and I'm excited to be working with such a talented team. Over the next few weeks, I'll be meeting with each department to discuss our vision for the future. I believe in transparency, innovation, and rewarding exceptional work. His voice was the same, deep and smooth, but now it carried the weight of authority. This wasn't the man who'd kissed her in a bar. This was a billionaire who owned companies like other people owned shoes. And she'd used him as a prop in her revenge plot. Ava wanted to sink through the floor and disappear. I'll be conducting individual meetings with key personnel starting this afternoon, Liam continued. His eyes swept the room, lingering on Ava for just a fraction too long. My assistant will be reaching out to schedule appointments. I look forward to getting to know each of you. The meeting continued, but Ava heard none of it. Her mind was stuck on an endless loop of, oh God, oh God, oh God. She'd kissed her new boss. She'd kissed her new billionaire boss. In front of everyone. When the meeting finally ended, Ava tried to slip out quickly, but Melissa grabbed her arm. Are you okay? You look like you've seen a ghost. I'm fine. I just need some air. Ava. Melissa's eyes widened. Oh my God. That's him, isn't it? The guy from Friday night. That's her mystery man. I have no idea what you're talking about. Don't lie to me. I saw your face when he walked out. You kissed the new CEO. You kissed our boss. Not so loud. Ava hissed, glancing around frantically. This is insane. This is like something from a movie. What are you going to do? Pray for a sinkhole to open up beneath my feet. Ava headed for the stairs, needing to move, to escape. I don't know, Mel. I genuinely have no idea. She made it back to her desk and tried to focus on work, but her hands shook every time she touched her keyboard. Any minute now, she expected an email from HR or a summons to Liam's office or security escorting her out of the building. Instead, at 2:30, her phone buzzed with a calendar invitation. Meeting with CEO Liam Carter, 4 p.m., Conference Room B. The message was brief and professional, giving no hint of their history. But Ava's heart hammered as she read it 3 times, trying to decode hidden meaning in the stark words. She had an hour and a half to figure out what to say to the man she'd kissed, who was now her boss, who probably thought she was either insane or calculating or both. An hour and a half to prepare for a conversation that would determine whether she still had a career. An hour and a half until her life got even more complicated than it already was. If you're enjoying this story so far, please hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss what happens next. Trust me, you won't want to miss this meeting. The 90 minutes before the meeting passed like both an eternity and an instant. Ava changed her outfit 3 times, trying to find something professional that didn't look like she was trying too hard. She settled on a navy blazer and cream blouse, paired with her most sensible heels. At 3:55, she stood outside Conference Room B, her hand raised to knock, trying to convince herself not to run. "Come in," Liam's voice called before she could make contact. She pushed open the door and found him sitting at the head of a sleek conference table, reviewing something on his laptop. He didn't look up immediately, giving her time to notice details she'd missed Friday night. The way his hair fell slightly over his forehead, the small scar above his left eyebrow, the way his fingers moved across the keyboard with confident precision. "Close the door, please." Ava did, then stood awkwardly by the entrance, unsure whether to sit or speak or apologize. Finally, Liam looked up. His gray eyes studied her with an intensity that made her feel simultaneously exposed and seen. "Have a seat, Ms. Monroe." The formality stung, but she deserved it. She crossed to the chair farthest from him and sat, folding her hands in her lap to keep them from shaking. "I assume you know why you're here," he said. "To discuss Friday night. To discuss your role in the upcoming restructure." He closed his laptop and leaned back in his chair. "Though we should probably address Friday night as well." Ava's stomach twisted. "Mr. Carter, I want to apologize. What I did was completely inappropriate. I had no idea who you were, and I put you in an impossible position. If you need me to resign, I understand." "Do you want to resign?" "No, but I understand if my staying creates problems." "What kind of problems?" "Professional ones. Ethical ones. I kissed you, and now you're my boss. There are policies about that kind of thing." "There are." Liam steepled his fingers, his expression unreadable. "However, those policies typically apply to ongoing relationships, not one-time incidents at bars before the working relationship existed." "So, I'm not fired?" "Why would I fire you? Because I kissed you without really knowing you? Because I used you? Because I created a spectacle that reflects poorly on the company?" "Ms. Monroe." He leaned forward slightly. "Do you know why I want to meet with you today? To discuss Friday night. To discuss your promotion to senior designer, which was approved 3 weeks ago, and to assign you to lead the creative team on our new flagship campaign." He paused. "Your work is exceptional. Your portfolio shows both technical skill and emotional depth. That's rare in this industry." Ava blinked, trying to process this sudden shift. "I don't understand." "What don't you understand?" "Why you're acting like Friday night didn't happen." "I didn't say it didn't happen. I said it doesn't affect your professional standing." His eyes held hers. "What happened Friday night was personal. What happens in this office is professional. I'm capable of separating the two. The question is, are you?" "Yes, absolutely. I can be completely professional." "Good. Because the campaign I'm assigning you to is critical. It's a complete rebrand for one of our major clients, and it needs someone who can think creatively while managing a team." He slid a folder across the table. "This is the brief. I'll need initial concepts by the end of the week." Ava took the folder with shaking hands, flipping it open to see the scope of the project. It was massive, the kind of career-defining work she'd been dreaming about for years. This is incredible. It's work, challenging work that requires long hours and close collaboration." He paused meaningfully. "With me, I'll be overseeing this project personally. Can you handle that?" The subtext was clear. Could she work closely with him every day, knowing what his mouth tasted like, knowing how his hands felt on her waist? "Yes," Ava said, more confidently than she felt. "I can handle it." "Excellent. We'll have our first team meeting tomorrow at 9. Come prepared with questions." He opened his laptop again, a clear dismissal. "That's all for now, Ms. Monroe." Ava stood, clutching the folder like a lifeline. She made it halfway to the door before his voice stopped her. "Ava." She turned. He was watching her again, and this time the professional mask had slipped just enough to show the man underneath. "For what it's worth," he said quietly, "I don't regret Friday night." The words hung in the air between them, loaded with implications neither of them could acknowledge. "Neither do I," Ava admitted. Then she walked out before she could say something else that would complicate an already impossible situation. As the door closed behind her, Ava leaned against the wall and tried to slow her racing heart. She had her promotion. She had the career-defining project she'd always wanted. And she had a boss who'd kissed her like she was the only woman in the world. This was either going to be the best thing that ever happened to her career or the thing that destroyed it completely. Possibly both. The next 2 weeks passed in a blur of creativity and tension. Ava threw herself into the rebrand project, leading a team of 5 designers through concept development, client presentations, and endless revisions. The work was exhilarating and exhausting in equal measure. And Liam was there through all of it. He attended every meeting, reviewed every design, pushed them harder than anyone Ava had ever worked with. He was demanding and exacting, catching flaws she'd missed and asking questions that made her reconsider her entire approach. He was also completely professional. He never mentioned Friday night, never let his hand linger when passing her documents, never looked at her with anything other than the cool assessment of a CEO evaluating an employee's work. It was driving her crazy, because underneath the professional veneer, Ava felt the current between them, alive and electric. In a way, his eyes would sometimes drift to her mouth when she was talking. In the moments when they'd both reach for the same design mock-up, and their fingers would brush. In the late nights when they'd be the last two people in the office, and the air would grow thick with unspoken words. The office gossip had reached fever pitch. Everyone knew about Friday night now, and speculation ran wild. Some people whispered that Ava had seduced her way into the lead position. Others claimed Liam was using his power inappropriately. A few suggested the whole thing was a strategic move by both of them. Ethan, unsurprisingly, was one of the loudest voices spreading rumors. He'd stayed at Harrington after the acquisition, and he made sure everyone knew his version of events, that Ava was unstable, vindictive, and sleeping her way to the top. Ava tried to ignore it, but the constant whispers wore on her. She second-guessed every interaction with Liam, wondering if people were watching, judging, taking notes for HR. Then came the corporate gala. It was an annual event, usually boring and mandatory. But this year, with the acquisition, it had been transformed into a celebration of the merger. The city's elite would attend, along with major clients and business partners. Attendance was required for all senior staff. Ava spent an hour getting ready in her apartment, changing dresses 4 times before settling on a deep burgundy gown that hugged her curves and made her feel powerful. If she was going to face the gossip and speculation, she was going to do it looking like someone who belonged. The gala was held at the Harrington Hotel's grand ballroom, all crystal chandeliers and marble floors and sweeping staircases. Ava arrived fashionably late, hoping to slip in unnoticed. Instead, she walked in to find Liam holding court near the bar, surrounded by executives and clients. He wore a tuxedo that looked like it had been designed specifically for his body, and every woman in the room was sneaking glances at him. Their eyes met across the crowded ballroom, and this time, the professional mask didn't quite hold. Something flickered in his expression, something raw and hungry, before he locked it down. Ava grabbed a glass of champagne from a passing waiter and made small talk with colleagues, trying to focus on anything other than the man across the room. But she felt his presence like gravity, pulling her attention back again and again. Quite a sight, isn't he? A voice said beside her. Ava turned to find Sarah Chun, one of the account directors, smiling knowingly. I am sorry. Liam Carter. Half the women here would kill to be in your position. My position as his employee? Your position as the woman he can't stop looking at. Sarah sipped her champagne. He's been tracking you since you walked in. Hasn't taken his eyes off you for more than 30 seconds. You're imagining things. Am I? Sarah nodded toward the bar. Look now. Ava glanced over and found Liam staring directly at her, ignoring whatever the CEO of a fashion house was telling him. Their eyes locked, and the rest of the ballroom seemed to fade into background noise. See what I mean? Sarah laughed. That's not how a boss looks at an employee, honey. That's how a man looks at a woman he wants. Before Ava could respond, Liam excused himself from his conversation and started walking toward her. The crowd parted naturally, people unconsciously making way for him. He stopped in front of Ava, and up close, she could see the tension in his jaw, the slight darkness in his eyes that suggested his control was costing him. Ms. Monroe, you look lovely this evening. Thank you, Mr. Carter. I wonder if you'd do me the honor of a dance. It wasn't really a question, and they both knew it. Ava set down her champagne and took his offered hand, ignoring Sarah's delighted grin. He led her onto the dance floor, where a string quartet played something slow and romantic. His hand found her waist, the other clasping her fingers, and they began to move. You're causing quite a stir, Liam murmured, his breath warm against her ear. Me? You're the one who asked me to dance in front of everyone. Would you have preferred I didn't? I don't know what I prefer anymore. The admission slipped out before she could stop it. This is all very confusing. What's confusing about it? You. This. Us. She looked up at him, finding his face closer than she'd expected. You kissed me like I mattered, then acted like it never happened. You gave me everything I wanted professionally, but you're so careful never to cross any lines. I don't know if you actually feel anything, or if I'm just projecting my own confusion. His hand tightened on her waist. Do you know why I'm careful not to cross lines, Ava? Because you're my boss and it's inappropriate? Because if I cross them, I won't be able to stop. His eyes held hers, intense and honest. Because every time I'm in a room with you, I want to do things that would get us both fired. Because that kiss we shared haunts me, and I've spent 2 weeks trying to figure out how to work with you without thinking about doing it again. The words stole her breath. Around them, couples swayed to the music, oblivious to the conversation happening in plain sight. Then why the professional distance? She asked. Because I won't be the boss who uses his power to pressure an employee. Because what I want from you has to be freely given, with no question of coercion or obligation. Because you deserve better than rumors and speculation about how you got ahead. What if I don't care about the rumors? You should care. They can destroy your reputation, your career, everything you've worked for. What if I think you're worth the risk? His step faltered slightly, his composure cracking. Ava, I'm not saying I want to jump into anything. I'm not saying I even know what I want. But I'm tired of pretending that kiss didn't mean something. I'm tired of acting like there's nothing between us when everyone can see there is. They'd stopped moving now, standing still in the middle of the dance floor while other couples float around them. Liam's thumb brushed across her knuckles, a small gesture that felt monumental. If we do this, he said quietly, we do it right. Open and honest with HR. No hiding, no sneaking around. And your career advancement stays completely separate. I won't be accused of favoritism, and you won't be accused of sleeping your way up. And if people accuse us anyway, then we deal with it together. His lips curved into something that was almost a smile. Besides, anyone who's seen your work knows you earned your position. Is this really happening? Ava's heart hammered. Are we really having this conversation? That depends. Are you sure this is what you want? She thought about Ethan, about all the ways she'd made herself smaller to fit into his life. She thought about the 3 years she'd spent apologizing for her ambition, her passion, her drive. She thought about how Liam had looked at her Friday night, like she was something precious and powerful all at once. I'm sure, she said. Something shifted in his expression, the careful control giving way to something real and raw. He pulled her closer, his hand sliding to the small of her back, and they began to move again. But this time it was different. This time there was intention in every touch, promise in every breath. Around them, she felt rather than saw people watching, whispering, taking note. Let them, Ava thought. Let them talk. The music swelled, and Liam leaned down, his lips brushing her ear. You realize everyone's staring. I know. This will be all over the office by morning. I know that too. And you're okay with it? Ava pulled back just enough to meet his eyes. I spent 3 years hiding myself for someone who didn't deserve me. I'm done hiding. Something ignited in his gaze, hot and fierce. His hand tightened on her back, and for a moment she thought he might kiss her right there. Consequences be damned. But he didn't. Instead, he guided her through the dance with practiced ease, maintaining the bare minimum of professional distance even as the air between them crackled with electricity. When the song ended, he stepped back and gave her a formal nod that was completely at odds with the heat in his eyes. Thank you for the dance, Ms. Monroe. The pleasure was mine, Mr. Carter. They stood there for a heartbeat too long, neither wanting to break the moment. Then someone called Liam's name, and reality crashed back in. He squeezed her hand once, quick and private, before releasing it and walking away to handle whatever crisis required his attention. Ava made her way back to the edge of the ballroom, her skin still tingling from his touch. Melissa materialized beside her immediately, eyes wide with excitement. Oh my God. Oh my God. Did that just happen? Did you and Liam Carter just have an entire relationship conversation in the middle of the dance floor? Keep your voice down, Ava hissed, but she couldn't stop the smile tugging at her lips. I can't keep my voice down. This is huge. You and the billionaire CEO. Melissa grabbed her arm. Wait, are you actually going to date him? Like, for real? I don't know what we're doing yet. We just agreed to be honest about whatever this is. Whatever this is. Ava, the man looked at you like you were the last woman on earth. That's not whatever. That's something major. Before Ava could respond, a cold voice cut through their conversation. Well, isn't this touching? Ethan appeared with Brianna still attached to his arm, both of them looking worse for wear. Ethan's tie was loose, his face flushed with alcohol, and there was a mean glint in his eyes that Ava recognized as dangerous. Ethan, Brianna. Ava kept her voice neutral. Enjoying the party? Not as much as you, apparently. Ethan stepped closer, and she smelled the whiskey on his breath. Dancing with the boss. Getting special treatment. You work fast, Ava. I'll give you that. Walk away, Ethan. Why? Afraid your billionaire boyfriend will see us talking? Afraid he'll figure out what you really are? And what's that? A manipulator. A user. Someone who'll do anything to get ahead. His voice rose, attracting attention from nearby guests. You think you're so much better than everyone else with your art and your ambition. But you're just like every other woman who trades on her looks to climb the corporate ladder. The words were designed to wound, to reduce everything she'd worked for into something cheap and transactional. A year ago, they might have landed. A month ago, they would have made her doubt herself. But tonight, after dancing with Liam and finally choosing herself, they bounced off harmlessly. Are you done? Ava asked calmly. Ethan blinked, clearly thrown by her lack of reaction. What? I asked if you're done. Because I have better things to do than listen to a man project his own insecurities onto me. Insecurities? You ruined what we had. No, Ethan. You ruined what we had when you decided another woman was more important than basic honesty. And now you're trying to ruin my reputation because you can't handle seeing me move on. She stepped closer, her voice dropping low and dangerous. But here's the thing. I don't care anymore. Say whatever you want. Spread whatever rumors make you feel better. I know my worth, and I know I earn my position. Your opinion is irrelevant. You'll regret this. When Carter gets bored of you, when everyone sees through your act, you'll regret burning bridges with me. The only thing I regret is wasting 3 years on someone who made me feel small. Ava turned to Melissa. Come on, let's get some air. They walked away, leaving Ethan sputtering behind them. Ava's hands shook slightly, adrenaline flooding her system, but she felt lighter than she had in months. That was incredible, Melissa breathed as they stepped onto a quiet balcony overlooking the city. You completely destroyed him. I just told the truth. Ava leaned against the railing, letting the cool night air calm her racing heart. I'm tired of letting him make me feel like I did something wrong by having ambition. You didn't do anything wrong. He's just threatened because you're succeeding without him. Maybe. Ava stared out at the glittering skyline of Halstead, lights stretching endlessly into the darkness. Or maybe he never really knew me at all. Maybe he only loved the version of me that didn't challenge him. Well, Liam Carter clearly likes the version of you that challenges everything. Melissa grinned. Did you see the way he looked at you during that dance? Like you were a puzzle he couldn't wait to solve, or a problem he couldn't figure out how to handle. Ava, stop. Melissa grabbed her shoulders, forcing her to make eye contact. You like him. He clearly likes you. Stop overthinking it and just see where it goes. It's complicated. Everything worth having is complicated. That doesn't mean it's not worth fighting for. Before Ava could respond, the balcony door opened and Liam stepped out. He'd lost his jacket somewhere, his tie loosened and his sleeves rolled up. He looked less like a polished CEO and more like a man barely holding onto his control. I'll just go find more champagne. Melissa slipped past Liam with a knowing smile, leaving them alone. For a moment, neither spoke. The city hummed below them, alive with Friday night energy, while above them stars struggled to compete with the light pollution. I heard what happened with your ex, Liam said finally. Word travels fast. In my experience, drama always does. He moved to stand beside her at the railing, close enough that she could feel his warmth. Are you all right? Better than all right. I finally told him what I should have said weeks ago, which was that his opinion doesn't define me, that I don't need his approval or anyone else's to know my worth. Liam was quiet for a moment, then said, You know what I admired most about you that night at the bar? My impulsive decision-making skills. His lips curved. Your courage. You were devastated, humiliated in front of your colleagues, and instead of running away, you stayed. You fought back. You refused to be a victim. I kissed a stranger. That's not courage. That's temporary insanity. You took control of a situation where you had none. You chose yourself over propriety and other people's expectations. He turned to face her fully, his expression serious. That's exactly the kind of thinking I need on my team. People who aren't afraid to take risks, to break rules when the rules don't serve them. Is that why you gave me the lead position? Because I kissed you. I gave you the lead position because your portfolio showed more raw talent than anyone else in that building. The kiss just proved you had the guts to back it up. Ava studied his face, looking for any sign of deception or manipulation. She found only honesty, stark and unfiltered. Can I ask you something? She said. Anything. Why me? You can have anyone. Models, executives, women who don't come with workplace complications and ex-boyfriend drama. Why are you interested in me? Liam was quiet for so long she thought he might not answer. Then he reached out and tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, his fingers lingering against her cheek. Do you know what it's like to be in control of everything? He asked softly. To have every aspect of your life planned and managed and executed with precision? To never be surprised, never be challenged, never feel anything beyond the satisfaction of a goal achieved. That sounds lonely. It is. It's also safe, predictable, easy. His thumb brushed across her cheekbone. And then you walked up to me in a bar, asked to kiss me, and completely demolished every plan I had. You were messy and emotional and impulsive and real. You didn't care that I had money or power. You just needed someone at that moment, and you chose me. I didn't know who you were. Exactly. You saw me as just a man. Not a CEO, not a billionaire, not a name on a building. Just someone who might understand what it felt like to watch your world fall apart. His eyes held hers, intense and honest. Do you have any idea how rare that is? How refreshing it is to be wanted for yourself, and not what you can provide. Ava's breath caught. Liam, I'm not saying I've fallen for you. I barely know you. His hand slid to her jaw, tilting her face up. But I want to know you. I want to know what makes you laugh, what keeps you up at night, what you dream about when you let yourself dream. I want to see your art and hear your ideas and watch you create things that matter. Even if it complicates everything, especially if it complicates everything. I'm tired of simple, Ava. I'm tired of relationships that fit neatly into my schedule and don't require any actual emotional investment. I'm tired of being lonely in a crowded room. The vulnerability in his voice cracked something open in her chest. She'd been so focused on her own fears and insecurities that she hadn't considered he might have his own. What if this doesn't work? She whispered. What if we try and it falls apart, and then we have to work together anyway? Then we'll handle it like adults. We'll be professional and respectful and figure out. He leaned closer, his forehead almost touching hers. But what if it does work? What if this thing between us is real and powerful and exactly what we both need? That's terrifying. I know. His lips curved into a small smile. But isn't it also exciting? Ava's heart hammered against her ribs. Every logical part of her brain screamed that this was a bad idea, that dating her boss was asking for disaster, that she should walk away before things got more complicated. But the rest of her, the part that had kissed him in a bar and danced with him in front of everyone and just confronted her ex without flinching, wanted to take the risk. If we do this, she said slowly, we need rules. Such as, work stays at work. No special treatment, no favoritism. I succeed or fail on my own merit. Agreed. And if things get too messy, if it starts affecting our professional relationship, we pause and reassess. Fair enough. His thumb traced her lower lip, a touch so light it barely registered but sent electricity shooting through her nervous system. Any other rules? We're honest. Brutally honest. No games. No manipulation. No hidden agendas. I can work with that. He pulled back slightly, giving her space to breathe. Should we shake on it? Sign a contract? Have our lawyers draft an agreement? Despite the tension, Ava laughed. I think a verbal agreement works for now. Good. Because I've been wanting to do this since you walked away from me 2 weeks ago. He kissed her. Not the desperate, performative kiss from the bar, but something slower, deeper, more deliberate. His mouth moved against hers with patient intensity, like he had all the time in the world and intended to use every second. His hand cupped her jaw, tilting her head to exactly the angle he wanted, while his other arm wrapped around her waist and pulled her flush against him. Ava melted into him, her hands sliding up his chest to grip his shoulders. He tasted like champagne and promises, and when his tongue brushed against hers, she made a sound that was half sigh, half surrender. The world narrowed to just this, his mouth, his hands, the solid warmth of his body against hers. Nothing else existed beyond this balcony, this moment, this man who kissed her like she was precious and powerful all at once. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Liam rested his forehead against hers. That, he murmured, was worth waiting 2 weeks for. Just 2 weeks. Ava's lips curved against his. I thought you billionaire types had more patience. Not when it comes to you. He pressed one more kiss to her forehead, then stepped back with visible effort. We should probably get back inside before people start searching for us. Let them search. I'm tired of caring what people think, says the woman who just established rules about maintaining professional boundaries. Fina, we'll go back. Ava straightened her dress, trying to smooth away evidence of their kiss. But for the record, I'm going to be terrible at the professional boundaries thing. I'm counting on it. They walked back into the ballroom together, and this time when people stared, Ava didn't care. She'd spent too long trying to fit into boxes designed by other people. If loving Liam Carter meant breaking every rule she'd been taught, then maybe it was time to rewrite the rules. The next few weeks passed in a blur of late nights, intense creative sessions, and stolen moments that felt like secrets even though everyone knew. Ava and Liam maintained careful professional distance during office hours, but after everyone else left, they'd stay late, ostensibly working but really just learning from each other. She discovered he took his coffee black, worked best between midnight and 3 a.m., and had a scar on his left shoulder from a motorcycle accident in 19. He learned she sketched when she was anxious, hummed while she worked, and had once dreamed of being a fine artist before pragmatism pushed her toward commercial design. They still hadn't officially told anyone they were dating, though the office gossip mill had long since concluded they were. HR had been notified per Liam's insistence on transparency, and a formal policy exception had been filed. Everything was above board and documented. But that didn't stop the whispers. She's only successful because she's sleeping with the boss. He's going to get bored of her eventually. He always does. I heard she trapped him with that kiss at the bar. Calculated the whole thing. Ava tried to ignore it, but the constant speculation wore on her. She second-guessed every success, wondering if people would credit her work or her relationship. She felt eyes on her constantly, judging, evaluating, waiting for her to fail. Then came the presentation. The rebrand campaign they'd been developing for 3 months was ready to pitch to the client, a major fashion house looking to appeal to younger demographics. It was the biggest presentation of Ava's career, the kind of make-or-break moment that could define her trajectory for years. The night before, she stayed late at the office, fine-tuning every detail. Liam found her at 11 p.m., surrounded by design mock-ups and empty coffee cups, looking exhausted and frantic. Liam crossed the room and gently took the design mock-up from her hands. Listen to me. You are incredibly talented. Your work is brilliant. And tomorrow, you're going to walk into that boardroom and prove to everyone exactly why you deserve to be there. What if I don't? What if I freeze or stumble over my words? Or the client hates everything? Then we'll regroup and try again. But that's not going to happen. He tilted her chin up, forcing her to meet his eyes. You know why I know that? Why? Because you're the woman who kissed a stranger in a bar to take back her power. Because you're the woman who told her ex exactly what he could do with his opinions. Because you're the woman who looked a billionaire CEO in the eye and demanded to be treated as an equal. His thumb brushed away the smudge under her eye. That woman doesn't fail. She'd earned this. No favoritism, no special treatment, just raw talent and hard work paying off. When everyone finally left, Ava sank into a chair, the adrenaline draining away and leaving her shaky and overwhelmed. That's when Liam appeared in the doorway. I know I said I'd wait outside, he said, but the VP texted me halfway through saying I had to see this. So I watched from the observation room. You watched. Every second. He crossed to her, his pride evident in every line of his face. Ava, you were incredible. I've seen hundreds of presentations in my career, and that was one of the best. You commanded that room like you were born to do it. They approved everything. Of course they did. Your work is brilliant. He cupped her face in his hands. And now everyone knows it. Not because of me, not because of our relationship, but because you walked in there and proved it beyond any doubt. The tears she'd been holding back finally fell. I was so scared. I know, but you did anyway. That's what courage is, Ava. Not the absence of fear, but moving forward despite it. She laughed through her tears, and he kissed her, slow and sweet and full of promise. If you made it this far, you're absolutely hooked on Ava and Liam's journey. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the dramatic conclusion. Things are about to get even more intense. Also, drop a comment telling me your favorite moment so far. I love hearing from you all, but their happiness was short-lived. The following week, anonymous emails started circulating through the company. Screenshots of Ava and Liam from the bar, the night they first kissed. Photos from the gala, their bodies pressed together on the dance floor. And worst of all, fabricated financial documents suggesting Ava's salary had been inflated far beyond industry standard. The implication was clear. Ava had seduced Liam for money and career advancement, and he was too blinded by lust to see it. The emails went to everyone. Colleagues, clients, board members. Within hours, the story had spread beyond Harrington, picked up by industry gossip blogs and social media accounts dedicated to corporate drama. Ava's phone exploded with notifications. Former classmates reaching out with fake concern. Strangers commenting on her appearance, her choices, her character. And through it all, one message repeated: gold digger, manipulator, fraud. She was in a meeting when HR called her in. The head of human resources, Patricia Morgan, sat behind her desk with a grave expression. Ava, I'm sure you're aware of the emails circulating. I am. We need to discuss next steps. The board is concerned about the optics. There are questions about whether proper protocols were followed, whether your relationship with Mr. Carter has created conflicts of interest. We filed all the proper documentation, Ava said, trying to keep her voice steady. We've been completely transparent. Yes, but transparency doesn't prevent perception issues. And right now, the perception is damaging to both you and the company. So what are you saying? Patricia sighed. The board is requesting that you take a temporary leave of absence while we conduct a full investigation into the claims made in these emails. The words hit like a physical blow. A leave of absence? You're suspending me. Not suspending. Just asking you to step back while we review everything. It's standard procedure when serious allegations are made. These aren't allegations. They're lies. Someone is deliberately trying to sabotage me. Perhaps. But we still need to investigate. Patricia's expression softened slightly. Ava, I believe you. I've seen your work, and I know you earned your position. But the board needs proof. And right now, they're facing potential lawsuits from employees who feel passed over. We need to handle this carefully. Ava felt the room closing in. How long? 2 weeks. Maybe 3. Just until we can verify the documents are false and establish a clear timeline. 3 weeks. Ava laughed bitterly. 3 weeks of everyone assuming I'm guilty. 3 weeks of being sidelined from the projects I've been leading. 3 weeks of having my reputation destroyed while someone else takes credit for my work. I am sorry, Ava. I truly am. But this is what needs to happen. Ava stood on shaking legs. Fine, I'll take your leave of absence. But when this is over, when you prove I did nothing wrong, I want a public statement clearing my name. Not a quiet email. A full public acknowledgement that I was targeted and that these accusations were baseless. If we determine that, yes, absolutely. You mean when you determine that? Ava headed for the door, then paused. And just so we're clear, whoever did this, they wanted me to quit. They wanted me to run away in shame. But I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to use this time to build something even better. And when I come back, I'll be stronger than ever. She walked out with her head high, but the moment she reached her desk, the facade cracked. Melissa rushed over immediately, wrapping her in a hug. I saw HR call you in. What happened? They're putting me on leave. That's insane. You didn't do anything wrong. Doesn't matter. Someone's determined to destroy me, and they're doing a pretty good job of it. Ava started packing her personal items into a box. Her favorite coffee mug, the sketch pad she kept for random inspiration, photos from company events back when things were simpler. Each item felt like a tiny defeat. Have you told Liam? Melissa asked quietly. Not yet. Another long pause. Then, quietly, I've never doubted your strength, Ava. I just hate feeling powerless. Welcome to my world. She looked out at the city, at the thousands of windows hiding thousands of lives, and wondered which one held her enemy. Look, I have to go. I have research to do and people to talk to. I'll call you later. Ava, I love you, she said, the words slipping out before she could stop them. It was the first time she'd said it, and probably the worst possible moment, but it felt important somehow, like an anchor in the chaos. I love you too, Liam said without hesitation, which is why this is killing me. I know, but trust me, please, always. She hung up and stood there for a moment, letting the weight of what she'd just admitted settle over her. She loved him, despite the complications and the timing and the disaster unfolding around them. She loved him, and that made fighting back even more important, because she wasn't just fighting for her career anymore. She was fighting for their future. Ava spent the next week becoming a detective. She reviewed the original emails, tracing IP addresses and analyzing metadata. She interviewed colleagues who'd received the messages, looking for patterns. She hired a private investigator to verify her financial records and prove the salary documents were fabricated. And slowly, a picture began to emerge. The emails had been sent from multiple locations, but they all traced back to the same VPN service. The fabricated salary documents had been created using software that only a few people at Harrington had access to. And the photos, the ones from the bar and the gala, had been taken by someone who knew exactly where Ava would be and when. Someone who had access to her schedule. Someone who'd been at both events. Someone with technical skills and a grudge. On day 10 of her suspension, Ava finally had her answer. She walked into Harrington Creative at 8 a.m. before most people arrived and went straight to Liam's office. He looked up from his laptop, surprise and concern warring on his face. Ava, what are you doing here? You're supposed to be on leave. I know who did it. Liam stood immediately. Who? Brianna Chun. His eyebrows rose. Your ex's new girlfriend? Are you sure? Completely. Ava spread documents across his desk. Look at this. The emails were sent using a VPN service that Brianna's brother works for. The salary documents were created using design software that Brianna checked out from IT 3 days before the emails went out. And these photos? She pulled up enhanced versions on her phone. They have metadata that matches Brianna's camera model and serial number. Liam studied the evidence, his expression growing darker with each revelation. Why would she do this? Because Ethan put her up to it. Or maybe she did it herself to impress him. Either way, they've been trying to destroy me since the night at the bar. Ava's hands shook with anger and vindication. They couldn't stand that I moved on, that I succeeded despite them. So they decided to tear me down. This is enough to go to the police. I don't want to go to the police. I want to go to HR and the board. I want them to see exactly what happened, who did it and why. And then I want a public apology and for Brianna to be fired. Consider it done. Liam pulled out his phone. I'm calling an emergency board meeting right now. Wait. Ava put her hand over his phone. Before you do that, I need to know something. What? Are we going to survive this? Not just professionally, but us? Because this has been brutal, Liam. The accusations, the suspension, the feeling like everyone's waiting for me to fail. It's tested everything I thought I knew about myself. He set down his phone and came around the desk, pulling her into his arms. We're going to survive this because we choose to. Because what we have is real and worth fighting for. Because I don't care what anyone says or thinks. I know who you are, and I love exactly that person. Even when that person is messy and complicated and comes with ex-boyfriend drama. Especially then. He kissed her forehead. You make my perfectly controlled life chaotic and unpredictable and exciting. You challenge me, frustrate me, inspire me. Why would I want to give that up? Ava felt the last of her walls crumble. She'd spent so long trying to be strong, trying to handle everything alone, that she'd forgotten what it felt like to let someone else share the burden. Okay, she said. Let's take them down together. The emergency board meeting was scheduled for 2 p.m. Ava spent the intervening hours preparing her presentation, organizing evidence, and rehearsing exactly what she wanted to say. She'd been silenced long enough. Today, everyone will hear the truth. When she walked into the boardroom, Brianna was already there, summoned under the pretense of a project review. She paled when she saw Ava, but tried to maintain her composure. The board members filtered in, along with Patricia from HR and Harrington's legal counsel. Liam entered last, taking his seat at the head of the table with an expression that promised consequences. Thank you all for coming on short notice, he began. We're here to discuss the recent accusations against Ava Monroe and some new evidence that's come to light. He nodded to Ava, who stood and connected her laptop to the conference room screen. 2 weeks ago, anonymous emails were circulated accusing me of professional misconduct and financial impropriety. Those accusations led to my suspension and significant damage to my reputation. Ava's voice was steady, clear. Today, I'm going to show you exactly who sent those emails and why. For the next 30 minutes, she walked them through everything. The IP addresses, the software access logs, the photo metadata. She showed them Brianna's connection to each piece of evidence, the timeline that proved premeditation, and the pattern of harassment that had started the night at the bar. Brianna's face went from pale to red to ashen as the evidence mounted. "This is ridiculous," she finally burst out. "You can't prove any of this. IP addresses can be spoofed. Anyone could have accessed that software." "You're right," Ava said calmly, "which is why I also have this." She pulled up an email thread on the screen. It was between Brianna and someone with the email address E.Wells, Ethan's corporate account. The messages were damning. From Brianna: "She thinks she's so much better than us. Walking around with her billionaire boyfriend, acting like she earned everything herself." From Ethan: "She's always been delusional. Thinks her art makes her special. Someone needs to knock her down a few pegs." From Brianna: "What if we made it look like she's only successful because she's sleeping with Carter? People would believe it. Everyone already suspects it." From Ethan: "Do it. She deserves everything she gets. Just make sure it can't be traced back to us." The room went silent. Every board member stared at the screen, then at Brianna, whose face had gone completely white. "Where did you get those?" Brianna's voice shook. "That's private correspondence. You can't just—" "Actually, I can," Ava interrupted. "These emails were sent using company servers, which means they're company property. IT provided them as part of my investigation into who was using corporate resources to harass an employee." She looked directly at Brianna. "That employee being me." Patricia leaned forward, her expression grave. "Ms. Chun, do you deny sending the anonymous emails about Ms. Monroe?" Brianna's mouth opened and closed several times. I was just... She ruined my relationship with Ethan. She kissed that man right in front of him, humiliated him. I kissed a stranger after watching Ethan cheat on me publicly." Ava cut in sharply. "What you and Ethan did was retaliate by trying to destroy my career with fabricated evidence and coordinated harassment. There's a significant difference." "Ms. Chun," Liam's voice was cold as ice. "Do you have anything to say in your defense?" "I didn't mean for it to go this far," Brianna said, and now there were tears in her eyes. "Ethan said it would just be a little payback, that people would gossip for a few days and then forget about it. I didn't think they'd actually suspend her." "You fabricated financial documents," one of the board members said, his voice harsh. "You used company resources to defame a colleague. You damaged this company's reputation and exposed us to potential lawsuits. And you did it all for revenge over a boyfriend." "I'm sorry," Brianna whispered. "I'm so sorry." "Your apology means nothing," Ava said flatly. "You tried to destroy my life because your boyfriend's ego couldn't handle rejection. You made me doubt myself, my work, my worth. You made me feel like every success I'd earned was tainted. An apology doesn't fix that." Patricia stood. "Ms. Chun, you're terminated effective immediately. Security will escort you from the building. You have 30 minutes to collect your personal belongings under supervision. Any company property must be returned, and you'll be hearing from our legal department regarding potential charges." Brianna stood on shaking legs. "Please, I need this job. I have student loans, rent." "You should have thought of that before you committed multiple fireable offenses," Liam said, his tone brooking no argument. "Security is waiting outside." Two security guards entered and escorted Brianna from the room. Her sobs echoed down the hallway, but Ava felt no pity, only relief that the person who'd tormented her was finally facing consequences. When the door closed, Liam turned to the board. "I think we also need to discuss Ethan Wells' involvement." "Already handled," Patricia said. "I contacted his department head before this meeting. He's being terminated as well for his role in the harassment campaign." One of the board members cleared his throat. "Ms. Monroe, on behalf of Harrington Creative and Carter and Company, I want to offer our sincerest apologies. You were treated unfairly, and we should have investigated more thoroughly before suspending you." "Yes, you should have," Ava agreed, refusing to make it easy for them. "You should have looked at my work record, my character, my 3 years of dedication to this company. Instead, you chose to believe anonymous accusations without evidence. That's a failure of leadership." Several board members shifted uncomfortably. Liam's lips curved slightly, pride evident in his expression. "You're absolutely right," another board member said. "What can we do to make this right?" "First, I want a public statement issued to all employees and relevant industry contacts, clearing my name and explaining what happened. Second, I want the projects I was leading returned to me immediately, with full authority and no oversight beyond what's normal. Third, I want a formal review of your policies for handling harassment complaints, because this should never happen to anyone else." Patricia nodded, taking notes. "All reasonable requests. Done." "And fourth," Ava continued, her voice steady, "I want a raise. 20%. My work has exceeded expectations. I've led the most successful campaign this company has seen in 5 years, and I just spent 2 weeks of my own time investigating harassment that your HR department should have caught. I've earned it. Liam's smile widened. Around the table, board members exchanged glances. Approved, the chairman said finally. 20%, effective immediately, along with a formal apology and the other requests you've outlined. Then we have an agreement. Ava gathered her materials. I'll expect the public statement by the end of business today. I'll be back in the office tomorrow morning, ready to resume my leadership role. She walked out of the boardroom with her head high, feeling lighter than she had in weeks. Behind her, she heard Liam excuse himself from the meeting, and moments later his footsteps caught up to her in the hallway. That, he said, catching her arm and spinning her to face him, was the most magnificent thing I've ever witnessed. They deserved it. All of it. Absolutely. He pulled her close, not caring that they were standing in a public hallway where anyone could see. You were fierce and brilliant and completely in control. I've never been more attracted to you. Good timing, because I'm feeling pretty good about myself right now. Ava looped her arms around his neck. Thank you for believing me, for trusting me to handle this my way. Always. He kissed her softly. Though I have to admit, watching you negotiate that raise was incredibly satisfying. You know I would have given it to you anyway. I know, but I needed to earn it on my own terms. No favors, no special treatment. Just my work speaking for itself. It spoke volumes. He rested his forehead against hers. What do you want to do now? To celebrate? Honestly, I want to go back to work. I want to walk through those doors tomorrow morning like nothing happened and show everyone that I'm still here, still fighting, still succeeding. That's my girl. He kissed her again, deeper this time, pouring 3 weeks of frustration and fear and love into it. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Ava noticed several colleagues watching from nearby offices. Let them watch, she thought. Let them see that she wasn't afraid anymore, wasn't ashamed, wasn't going anywhere. I love you, she said clearly, loud enough for anyone nearby to hear. I love you, and I don't care who knows it. Liam's eyes softened. I love you too. Even though you're stubborn and reckless and just negotiated a raise, that's going to make my CFO cry. Especially because of those things. Especially because of those things, he agreed. The next morning, Ava walked into Harrington Creative at 8 a.m. sharp. The public statement had gone out the previous evening, explaining the harassment campaign and clearing her name. Her inbox had exploded with messages, apologies from colleagues who'd believed the rumors, congratulations from clients who'd seen her presentation, and surprisingly, a few job offers from competitors who'd been following the drama. She ignored them all and went straight to her desk. Someone had left a coffee and a note that read, "Welcome back. We missed you." The design team. Ava smiled, feeling the first genuine warmth from her colleagues in weeks. Melissa rushed over the moment she sat down. "Oh my God, you're back. Did you see Brianna getting escorted out yesterday? It was spectacular." She was crying and trying to explain herself, but security just kept walking. And Ethan too. Apparently he tried to argue that he was just venting and didn't actually mean for Brianna to do anything, but they fired him anyway. Good, Ava said simply. They both deserved it. Everyone's talking about how you exposed them. You're like a corporate detective. It's incredible. Melissa lowered her voice. And can we talk about you and Liam? Because that hallway kiss yesterday, chef's kiss, peak romance. We're together, Ava confirmed, not bothering to hide it anymore. Officially, publicly, and completely. I'm so happy for you. He's obviously crazy about you. Melissa grinned. Plus, the way he looked at Brianna when you were presenting evidence, I thought he might actually combust from rage. He was pretty angry. He was protective. There's a difference. Melissa squeezed her arm. You deserve someone who fights for you like that. Ava thought about Liam's quiet support, his trust in her ability to handle things herself, his willingness to step back when she needed space and step forward when she needed backup. That was a real partnership. Not someone trying to save her, but someone standing beside her while she saved herself. The day passed in a blur of meetings and project updates. Ava fell back into her role seamlessly, as if the suspension had never happened. Her team rallied around her, grateful to have her leadership back, and by evening she'd reorganized the entire project timeline and scheduled presentations for next month. At 7 p.m., when most of the office had cleared out, Liam appeared at her desk. Working late on your first day back. Making up for lost time. Ava saved her work and closed her laptop. Plus, I have a lot of creative energy that needs an outlet. I could think of some other outlets for that energy. His voice dropped suggestively, and she felt heat pool in her stomach. Mr. Carter, are you propositioning me in the workplace? Absolutely not. That would be inappropriate. He held out his hand. I'm inviting you to dinner at my place, where we can discuss the project in a more comfortable setting. Is that what we're calling it now? Discussing the project? Among other things. His eyes darkened. I haven't had you alone in 3 weeks, Ava. I'm at the end of my patience. She took his hand and stood, letting him pull her close. Then let's get out of here before you completely lose that famous control. They left Harrington hand in hand, no longer caring who saw or what anyone thought. The battle was over. They'd won. And whatever came next, they'd face it together. Liam's penthouse overlooked the city, all floor-to-ceiling windows and modern minimalism. Ava had been there twice before, but tonight it felt different. Tonight, there were no barriers between them, no professional concerns or harassment campaigns or suspensions. Just two people who'd fought through hell and come out stronger. Why? Liam asked, shrugging off his jacket. Please. He poured 2 glasses of red, something expensive that probably cost more than her monthly rent. They stood at the windows, watching the city lights twinkle below, and for a long moment neither spoke. I was terrified, Liam said finally. When they suspended you, when those emails were circulating, I was terrified that I'd lose you. That you decide I wasn't worth the complications, that dating your boss brought too much drama. The thought crossed my mind, Ava admitted. Not because I didn't love you, but because I was afraid that being with you would always mean people doubting my abilities. I was afraid I'd never escape the shadow of being the CEO's girlfriend. And now I know that anyone who reduces me to just your girlfriend isn't worth my time. I proved myself in that boardroom, Liam. I showed everyone exactly who I am and what I'm capable of. The people who matter will see that, and the people who don't can go to hell. She smiled. I spent too many years trying to please everyone, trying to fit into boxes that were never designed for me. I'm done with that. From now on, I'm living on my own terms. Liam set down his wine and turned to face her fully. I love you on your own terms. Fierce and uncompromising and absolutely unwilling to settle for anything less than you deserve. Good, because I have a lot of terms. Ava stepped closer, her body nearly touching his. I want a partnership, not a power dynamic. I want someone who challenges me, but doesn't try to control me. I want late nights and inside jokes, and someone who understands that my career is just as important as theirs. I can work with that. His hands found her waist, pulling her flush against him. Any other terms? Kiss me like you mean it. Like I'm the only woman in the world. Like that first night at the bar when you looked at me and saw someone worth saving. You didn't need saving, Liam murmured against her lips. You needed someone to witness your strength while you saved yourself. Then he kissed her. It was everything. Passion and promise, desire and devotion. The culmination of weeks of tension and longing. His hands slid up her back, pulling her impossibly closer, while her fingers threaded through his hair. They broke apart only to breathe, foreheads pressed together, hearts racing in sync. Stay tonight, Liam said. Stay every night. Move in with me. That's fast. We've been through more in 3 months than most couples experience in years. I know what I want, Ava. I want you here when I wake up. I want to make you breakfast and argue about design choices and fall asleep with you in my arms. I want all of it. What about the optics? The gossip? To hell with the optics. Let them gossip. We've already survived the worst they can throw at us. His thumb brushed across her cheek. I'm tired of being careful. I'm tired of pretending that what I feel for you is anything less than overwhelming. I love you, and I want the world to know it. Ava felt tears prick her eyes, but this time they were happy tears. I love you too. And yes. Yes to what? To all of it. Moving in, making breakfast, arguing about design. To building something real that doesn't care what anyone else thinks. To us. Liam swept her up into his arms, carrying her toward the bedroom while she laughed and protested that she could walk perfectly well. I know you can, he said, kicking the door open. But sometimes it's nice to be carried. That night, they talked and loved and planned for a future that had seemed impossible just weeks ago. They discussed her design projects and his expansion plans, her dream of eventually opening her own studio, and his quiet hope that she might do it in partnership with Carter & Company. They made promises and shared secrets and built a foundation strong enough to weather whatever storms came next. And there would be storms. Office relationships were complicated, even when everything was above board. There would be more gossip, more speculation, more people trying to reduce their relationship to something simple and scandalous. But Ava had learned something important through all of this. Other people's opinions only had the power she gave them. She could choose to let them define her, or she could define herself. She chose herself. 3 months later, Ava stood in front of the entire Harrington Creative Group staff, presenting the results of the rebrand campaign she'd led. The client had seen a 40% increase in engagement, a 25% boost in sales, and countless industry accolades. It was the most successful campaign in the company's history. As she concluded her presentation, the room erupted in applause. Colleagues stood, clients cheered, and even the most skeptical board members looked impressed. Liam caught her eye from the back of the room, his pride evident in every line of his face. He didn't say anything, didn't make a scene. He just looked at her like she'd hung the moon, and that was enough. After the presentation, Patricia pulled Ava aside. Congratulations. That was exceptional work. Thank you. I also wanted to apologize, formally and personally, for how we handled the harassment situation. You were right. We should have investigated thoroughly before taking action. We've since implemented new policies to ensure it doesn't happen again. I appreciate that. Ava meant it. Change was what mattered, not grudges. There's something else. Patricia handed her an envelope. The board wants to offer you a position as creative director. You'd oversee all design teams, report directly to the executive committee, and have significant autonomy in how you structure the department. Ava opened the envelope, scanning the offer letter. The salary was double what she currently made. The title was everything she dreamed of. This is incredible, she breathed, but I need time to think about it. Of course. Take a week. But Ava, Patricia smiled. You've earned this. Nobody doubts that anymore. That evening, Ava and Liam sat on their balcony, their shared balcony now, in the penthouse that had become home, discussing the offer. It's everything I've wanted, Ava said, staring at the letter. Creative director at 32. Most people spend decades reaching this level. But, Liam prompted, but I'm also thinking about starting my own studio. Having complete creative freedom. Building something from scratch that's entirely mine. You could do both. What do you mean? Accept the position. Spend a year or two learning everything you can about running creative teams and managing budgets and client relations. Then, when you're ready, launch your studio with all that experience behind you. He took her hand. There's no rush, Ava. You have time to do everything you want. When did you become so wise? When I fell in love with a woman who taught me that success means different things to different people. He pulled her close. Whatever you decide, I support you. Creative director, studio owner, or something else entirely. As long as you're happy, I'm happy. Ava leaned into him, feeling grateful and loved and exactly where she was meant to be. I think I'll accept the position. Learn everything I can. And then, in a few years, we'll talk about that partnership between my studio and Carter & Company. Deal. Liam kissed her temple. Though fair warning, I drive a hard bargain in business negotiations. Good thing I have experience negotiating with difficult billionaires. They sat there as the sun set over Halstead, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink and gold. The city spread out below them, full of possibilities and promises and second chances. 6 months ago, Ava had been heartbroken and humiliated at a bar, watching her life fall apart. She made an impulsive decision to kiss a stranger, not knowing that decision would change everything. Now she had a career she'd fought for, a relationship built on mutual respect and genuine love, and a future that stretched endlessly ahead, bright with potential. She'd been cheated on, so she'd kissed a stranger. And that stranger had turned out to be exactly what she needed. Not a savior or a solution, but a partner who saw her strength and loved her for it. What are you thinking about? Liam asked, his arms wrapped around her from behind. About how glad I am that Ethan cheated on me. He laughed. That's not what I expected you to say. It's true, though. If he hadn't, I never would have kissed you. I never would have fought for myself the way I did. I would have stayed small and safe and afraid to take risks. She turned his arms to face him. Heartbreak broke me open, but you helped me put myself back together in a better shape. You put yourself back together, Liam corrected. I just stood nearby and handed you the tools. That's what partnership is, isn't it? Standing nearby with tools while the other person builds something incredible. Among other things. His lips curved. I can think of several other partnership activities we should probably practice. Oh, really? And what activities would those be? Instead of answering, he swept her up and carried her inside, both of them laughing like teenagers, giddy with love and possibility and the simple joy of having found each other against all odds. The next morning, Ava accepted the creative director position. She threw herself into the role with the same fierce determination that had carried her through every challenge. She restructured the design teams, implemented new creative processes, and mentored younger designers the way she wished someone had mentored her. And through it all, Liam was there, not hovering or micromanaging, but supporting from a distance, offering advice when asked and stepping back when she needed space. They navigated the complexities of being partners, both professionally and personally, learning to separate work from home, to argue productively and love fiercely. A year after that fateful night at the bar, Harrington Creative Group won Industry Designer of the Year, primarily based on Ava's innovative campaigns and leadership. At the awards ceremony, when they called her name, she walked onto that stage with her head high and her heart full. In her acceptance speech, she didn't thank Liam or credit their relationship. She thanked her team, her mentors, and herself for never giving up, even when giving up would have been easier. But afterward, in the quiet of their hotel room, she kissed him and whispered, "Thank you for seeing me when I couldn't see myself. Thank you for teaching me that control isn't the same as strength," he replied, "and that sometimes the best things in life come from the most impulsive decisions." 2 years later, Ava launched her studio, Monroe Creative, with Liam as a silent investor and enthusiastic supporter. She took on projects she cared about, worked with clients who valued creativity over convention, and built a reputation as one of the most innovative designers in the industry. And 3 years after that night at the bar, on the rooftop of the same venue where it all began, Liam got down on one knee and asked her to marry him. Yes, Ava said without hesitation. To all of it. Forever. As they kissed, surrounded by friends and colleagues, and the city that had witnessed their entire journey, Ava thought about how far she'd come. From heartbreak to triumph, from doubt to certainty, from a woman who let others define her to a woman who wrote her own story. She'd been cheated on, so she'd kissed a stranger. And that kiss had led her here, to success, to love, to herself. It had been worth every complication, every challenge, every moment of doubt. Because in the end, she hadn't just found a billionaire boss. She'd found herself. And that was worth more than anything. The end. If you made it all the way to the end of Ava and Liam's story, I want to say thank you. Thank you for joining them on this journey from heartbreak to healing, from revenge to redemption, from that impulsive kiss to a love that changed everything. Stories like this remind us that our worst moments can lead to our best chapters. That choosing ourselves isn't selfish, it's necessary. That real love doesn't ask us to be smaller, it celebrates us being exactly who we are. If this story resonated with you, please hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. I have so many more stories to share. Stories about second chances, unexpected love, and people who refuse to give up on their dreams. Drop a comment below telling me your favorite moment from Ava and Liam's journey. Was it that first kiss at the bar? The boardroom confrontation? The hallway kiss that announced their relationship to the world? I love hearing what resonates with you. And if you know someone who needs to hear this story, someone going through heartbreak, someone doubting their worth, someone who needs a reminder that they're stronger than they think, share this video with them. Remember, you're not defined by who left you. You're defined by who you become after they're gone. Until next time, keep choosing yourself. Keep fighting for your dreams. And keep believing that your story isn't over. It's just getting started. See you in the next one.